Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chat with Matt. Thanks for joining me. And today we're going to be talking about, should you track your calories? Now, it's a common question I get when it comes to fat loss. We're talking about fat loss today. We're not talking about health, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about fat loss. Now, when you're looking at fat loss, your health, your performance, they're not your priority because your body does not care. When you're looking at fat loss, all your body gives a shit. Sorry, your body. All we give a shit about is looking better. So when we're looking at looking better, we're taking calories from the body, we're taking energy from the body. Therefore, we're not functioning how we should be. Our body is not insulating its organs how it should. So take that into account. Before you attack any fat loss, any new diet, any new approach, just take that into account, guys. When looking at fat loss, we're not looking at performing better. We're not looking at longevity. We're not looking at living to 100. All we're focusing on is looking better in the mirror or stepping on stage or for a photo shoot. So think about it, really process it. Do you really want fat loss before? But anyway, let's get into it. Now, one thing you need to take into account when looking at fat loss is you got to take life into account because things happen. I'm recording this on December 21 and Christmas is coming up. There's been Christmas parties. There's been events every weekend. You know that. You got to take life into account. Things will happen. Your dog might get sick. Your partner might get sick. God forbid. Your grandparents, your parents, who knows? Things happen every day. So you need to take life into account. And whatever approach you take, please make sure you're able to sustain this diet for life because it's all about sustainability. There's no use going into a diet, losing weight for a certain amount of time for a 6-week challenge and then gaining all the weight back on. That's the problem. That's what 95% of people do. We don't want that approach. That's why with my interval fat loss program, I teach you how to do this. I teach you how to fish. I teach you how to lose the fat, but then I give you the exit strategy. That's what no one talks about, the exit out of the diet. And I teach you how to take life into account by implementing things like refeeds and diet breaks. It's not all about restricting calories the whole time. There has to be a period where we take a step back and obviously increase calories and learn how to exit the diet, exit the fat loss zone to maintain the fat loss we've lost. Anyway, you got to take life into account. Now, one thing I want to tell you that if you want to lose fat, no, you don't need to track your macros. You don't need to track your calories. While I do recommend you do it for once in your life so you can be aware of the foods that are coming in, you don't need to do it. There are plenty of other approaches out there. But if you want accuracy, if you want to really get into the finer details of fat loss and start seeing, the definition, your bottom 2 abs, the hardest 2 to get, you really need to get your numbers dialed in. But if you just generally want to lose fat, no, you do not need to track every calorie and macro. And let me tell you something, guys. If you are tracking your calories, prioritize calories first. Forget about supplements for now. Prioritize calories, prioritize your protein intake. Focus on these 2 first. There are plenty of other strategies out there that help you do it, but it's more about just creating a habit. It's showing up consistently. If you have a bad day, you come back and you show up the next day. And make sure you choose a diet or choose an approach that you're going to be able to sustain forever, guys. I cannot tell you how important this is because we see it all the time. If you're doing paleo, if you're doing meat and veggies, be prepared to cut whatever you're cutting out for life. Because I've said in previous podcasts, we create our own intolerances. If you're lactose intolerant, whatever, gluten intolerant, if you cut gluten out of your diet for 2 years and then you try and reintroduce it, you create that intolerance. Same with dairy. If you cut dairy out of your diet without getting no advice from no one, just because a trainer told you to, and then you go to reintroduce dairy, your body's going to reject it. So this is why a lot of people have problems, because they chase this diet for 6 weeks, for 10 weeks. They take this approach, they cut everything out of their diet, and they can't sustain it. So they come back and start reintroducing foods, and that's when problems occur. So just be wary of that too, guys. But in starting, all I'm asking you to do is track your calories once in your life. Because what happens is, once you understand how many calories are in the foods you are eating. So let's say you're eating a Ben & Jerry's ice cream, a whole container a night. You track that, the awareness is huge. You look and you say, wow, that one Ben & Jerry's container, there's 1,000 calories in it. It's like, the awareness is huge. And then you start to understand the trade-off. So, all right, if I want a Ben & Jerry's ice cream, I'm going to have to sacrifice this meal, this meal, this meal. You start to realize, because there's a trade-off for fat loss. You need to trade some things off. If you want to go and drink 6 days a week, you might need to sacrifice a few meals here and there. You might need to really clean up your food quality. And it all comes down to sustainability. Give yourself flexibility. Flexibility to consume the foods you love. That's what tracking calories does. Because let's say I'm eating 2,000 calories a day, and I want to have a Snickers bar. Now, if I'm eating 2,000 calories a day, I've got a lot of income coming in, because I'm going to break this down in financial terms, because I don't like talking about calories. So let's say I'm making $10 million a year. The trade-off's not too big for me to buy a Ferrari, because I'm making $10 million a year. Where people go wrong is they're on a super low calorie approach, and they throw in a Snickers bar. So that Snickers bar, so they're on they're making $50,000 a year, and they go and buy a Ferrari. And that's when people start to suffer with their diets, because they're not smart with their choices. They're buying that Ferrari only making this much income. Some people are on this much. Some people have a higher budget than others. They buy the Ferrari. It's not much to their top line revenue. So just take this into account. If you're on lower calories, you're going to have to trade off. You might need to really clean up your food, and then wait a bit till you can start indulging. Or you might have to have a few days where you go low calories, and then have that one high calorie day. Because like I said, it's a budget, guys. Calories are the same as a budget. If you spend too much Monday to Friday, you're going to have to suffer Saturday and Sunday. Or if you know you're going out on a Saturday and you're going to spend a lot, you save Monday to Friday. You don't go and spend as much. Now, you don't starve yourself and then just binge on Saturday. You gradually spend less. And that's what it's all about. It's little trade-offs. So do you have to track your calories? No, you don't. You just need to create better systems, better habits. Yeah, I know I don't like talking about habits, but that's what it comes down to, guys. And I just hope you get something from this podcast. If you do, you can find me on YouTube at Matthew Manker. Subscribe to the podcast. Chat with Matt. Leave me a 5-star rating review. You can join my private Facebook group, Macros and Mindset with Matt. You can connect with me on Instagram at Move with Matt, or Facebook at Move with Matt. Thanks, guys, and catch you guys soon or tomorrow.